Hi, I'm Heather, and welcome to Please Like Me, episode 1. Let's get started. Stay tuned. I'm going to be sharing some pretty embarrassing stories about myself if you want to hear more about those. But let's just jump into this topic because I know I'm not alone in wanting people to like me and trying to be and do everything that everyone thinks you should and all that goes along with it. So let's talk about 5 reasons why this happens in the first place. And it really stems from things that happen earlier in our life at a younger age. So it can be actual events that happened. It can be the way that we perceived what was happening. It's a really complex scenario. So just, apply it to yourself however that plays out for you. But reason number 1 is, okay, wait, hold on. Let's back up. These are just 5 reasons. This is not an exhaustive list because we could probably be going for hours, right? This is just 5 really obvious reasons why we start doing this. So reason number 1 is that most people become this way at a young age as a way of creating safety and connection when they felt alone or afraid. It's a form of protection. So you can think back in your own life where a scenario happened and you felt like the only way to create the connection you were needing at that time or to feel safe in that moment was to put other people and their needs above your own, or maybe it was to repress your own beliefs or thoughts in order to not rock the boat, right? Just to keep everything safe and staying connected. Reason number 2, maybe there was an emphasis on the idea that making others happy is a form of success. So this would be more like a family culture situation. And just that this idea was drilled into you that is what success means, is making other people happy. Number 3, maybe you only or mostly received praise and attention after accomplishing or achieving something. That's pretty straightforward. It would stick out in your mind right now as you think back on your own life. Number 4, you could have experienced rejection when you were your authentic self. Here's where I wanted to chime in and share my story. So I had a couple of them come up for me whenever I was creating this list and just being or feeling rejected just for being like who you are with, just for being who you are. The first one that came to mind was, this was back in middle school. You guys, I haven't told my story yet, but I'm 42. So let's take a trip back to the 1900s. This would have been back in the mid 90s, middle school-ish time frame. And I was on a trip with a church and we were going to a water park. And if you know me to this day, okay, I have 3 kids. Let's get that out of the way. And I still take them to water parks because they are fun and I love to have fun. And so I still ride all the rides to this day. Like, that's all I want to do. I just want to have fun and ride the rides. So back to the mid 1990s, we are at a water park. I'm there with a church group. And this was back when I was really little in the 80s, there was only like 2 swimsuit kind of options, right? So you had the classic 2-piece, which was, it could have been like a bikini style. It could have been more like a sports bra top looking situation, but just your general like 2-piece swimsuit. So you had that option 1. And then we had option 2, which was a 1-piece. Okay, back to the mid 1990s. This is when I don't even know why I'm explaining to you what kind of swimsuit I had on at the time, because honestly, that it shouldn't matter, but I'm just going to do it anyway. There I go, over explaining myself just like a people pleaser. But okay, here we go. So this was when tankinis came out. I don't know if anybody still calls them that, but it was a new option, right? New swimsuit option. It had just like regular bottoms, and this whole get up was like neon yellow. So I really like the color. If you know me, I wear bright colors all the time if I can. So it's neon yellow, has a traditional swimsuit bottom, and then the top was like I guess it would just be kind of like a spaghetti strap tank top, right? Just like a regular tank. And that was it. I'm riding the rides. I'm with my friends. I'm having a great time. I get to the bottom of this one water slide, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, I want to do it again. And then I get pulled off to the side by I guess, leader that was there to lead the group. And I was told that I had to sit out. So, like, the adults were off in this other area at a table, and that I would be required to go sit with them at the table. And I was not able to participate any longer. And it was because of the way that my body looked in the swimsuit. And I just remember this like waves of, well, first of all, total confusion. And then just waves of like shame, because I thought something was wrong with me, or like wrong with my body, or I must have been, I don't know, flaunting it in some kind of way. I'm a grown up now, so no, it just was what it was, and that's the only reason for it, and I wasn't out doing that. So even a little scarier is the thought that an adult was so impacted by the perceived sexuality of a middle school child that they would have to pull me off to the side is a whole other thing to unpack in itself. But that was one of those moments that definitely created shame, and then really carried with me throughout my life, where there's been moments of shaming just over the way that it looks, and I'm over here like I'm just trying to have fun. I don't know. It's not my intention, but okay. So then, okay, that's a great example. So then what did I feel like I needed to do at that point? I needed to cover up. I needed to put more clothes on. I needed to somehow change my body. I needed, I don't know, to like repent or something, whatever. I would be changing my behavior as a result of that experience. And that's exactly what we're talking about here, is putting ourselves aside to make everybody happy. And another one that I thought of with just being your authentic self was when I was in elementary school, and I cannot remember what grade. It was early on. And I remember that the health teacher was in there, and it was a topic that I loved because I just grew up in a family where like we were active. Like my mom was a fitness instructor, so she would teach us about food and stuff from an early age. So I knew a lot of stuff going into that. And so he was there talking about food, and he was asking some questions, and I knew the answer. So I raised my hand and I answered the question. I don't even remember the question or what my exact answer was. It had something to do with fruits and vegetables. I do know that. But I answered it correctly. And then on the end of the sentence, I said, and stuff like that. And because it's just how I talk normally, like conversationally. Plus, I'm probably, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years old. Not sure how you're supposed to answer questions at that time. But anyway, so he gets up in front of the class, because he had made me stand up to do this, which I did. I stood up, I answered the question, and I was really feeling pretty good about it. And then the teacher proceeded to repeat my answer to my question, and then like change his voice for the wording, if that makes sense, of the and stuff like that. It's like he was trying to make me sound stupid. And then he very generously laughed at me while he, like right after he did that. And then, so then the whole class joined in and also laughed at me for a while as well. And what my takeaway was in that moment was that even if I know the answer, like it's not safe to share it. And so I got real quiet after that. From that point on, I know by the time I got into 5th grade, I was so shy. And my teacher for that year, she's like, my goal for this whole year for you is to like overcome that shyness and to kind of come out of your shell. So it was to the extent that it was one of the first things she noticed. She was a brand new teacher that year. And she was the one, that made probably the biggest difference in my life as far as teachers go. I love her. She knows who she is, 5th grade. And yeah, but it definitely impacted me enough to where I was that quiet by that point. So maybe you can relate to various stories like that when you think back on your own life. And number 5 was that maybe you were taught the importance of being liked or maintaining a positive image, right? So think back on your life. Is this where it's really important what other people think of you? Do we need to be keeping up with the Joneses? Do we constantly talk about what other people are doing and wearing and looking like and have and all that? You can tell I'm really into that. But that can be really common. And just in addition to this, adding in there that in the current time, this is a social media driven culture that influences us to not like ourselves. It's the whole point. I saw something on the news just maybe, I think it was actually yesterday, talking about the rise in suicide rates for teens and the rise of social media use for teens and how eerily they coincide when you look at them side by side. It's just that's the culture that we're in. So add that layer on top of it, and our younger people have it much harder than we have before. So you repress your voice. You don't share your ideas. You don't share your beliefs. It's like we're trying to stay somewhere between being too much and not enough. You need to stand out, but you also need to fit in. You need to be yourself, but you also need to be like everybody else. The message is to take up space, but also stay small so that you don't hurt other people. Shine your light, but not too bright. Use your voice, but we need you to be quiet. Okay. And what this looks like, if you're still kind of just doing a personal inventory, it shows up in these qualities in how we go about life. But first of all, I just want to say that there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with you. These qualities are not bad qualities. These traits are not bad traits. They're actually make you really kind and loving and caring in a lot of situations. So let's talk about a few of these qualities. First off, you are highly aware of the impact of your actions. If this is you, I don't even have to explain that. You know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't and you're curious, just do a quick Google search maybe for hypervigilance would be a really good one. Hyperindependence is another good one. Okay, next up, you enjoy keeping the peace and you love to help. These are good things, right? You can feel the energy and the feelings of others without asking. Again, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And last, you don't mind putting your needs aside to avoid conflict. These are all really good things. They make us loving, they make us kind. But when we have too much of these in our life, it will result in unbalanced relationships. So if both parties need to be contributing 50-50 into a relationship. So if you feel like you mostly contribute more to a relationship and you see it as a pattern across your life, hey, that may be a topic to visit, right? It can show up as like a really exaggerated fear of conflict. That's another big one. Also, not being able to take a compliment would be a good one. Maybe you struggle with boundaries and speaking up for your needs and saying what you want and all the things that come along with it. Or maybe you feel like you've spent your life trying to be and do everything that everyone else wanted for you instead of what you dreamed for yourself. And if so, you're in the right place. That's exactly what this is about and what I'm so passionate for. So what's one tip that you can walk away with today that can help make a difference if you relate to what we went through just now? And that would be pause. That's it. Pause. Start taking a moment before you respond. So if you struggle saying no, instead of an immediate yes, pause, think it over, come up with like a safe phrase that you can use of, I've got a lot on my plate right now. I want to make sure that I can be there. Let me take a look and I'll get back to you. Something along those lines, really simple. You don't need to react quickly. You can take time, you can pause, you can process, and it helps to break that cycle of the automatic yes or the automatic people pleasing and gives you a moment to start to create some change in your life. So that's just a quick tip for today. I haven't shared anything about myself quite yet, so I guess I should do that. Again, my name is Heather. Now that you know some really personal stuff about me, people describe me as a jack of all trades, which makes a lot of sense coming from the background that I have. Plus, I'm just a big life liver, I guess you could say. Is that even a word? I have a lot of passions and just want to do the things, So last year, I got certified as a life coach through Inner Glow Circle. So shout out to them. They're amazing. You should go check them out if it's something that you're considering for yourself. It's an amazing experience. Absolutely amazing people. Absolutely life-changing. And has allowed me to do some really meaningful work and something that I look forward to continuing on. Another big part of my life is that just last month, I got my black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So you'll hear me talk about that a lot because let's just take a moment and acknowledge how weird of a combination that is for somebody so sensitive and people-pleasing to go into such a violent sport. That's a lot to unpack, but has been the most healing experience of my life. So I like to talk about it. And then I also teach group fitness classes that are just super fun, a couple of different ones. So I'm sure you'll hear about that too. In general, I would be described as too much, is something I hear very often, or intimidating, just because I do go after things that I like, but only if I like them. So I am 42 as of the recording of this episode. I've been married for over 20 years. At that point, you're like, I don't know, how long has it been? So I know it's been over 20, and I have 3 kids as of right now, a 9-year-old, 11-year-old, 15-year-old. They are the coolest people ever they just blow my mind. They all have the most incredible things to offer the world that are just unique to them. So it's really cool to get to watch them become who they are and be along for the ride. Okay, that's me. This podcast is going to be a mix of personal stories and the stories of others to create a space where you can feel seen and understood and supported. Let's overcome our not enoughness. Let's stop seeking validation from everyone else. Let's stop being and doing only what we believe everyone else wants. Let's get inspired. Let's unearth and reconnect with who we truly are. Let's build healthy relationships. Let's spark a light within you that shines bright enough to light the way for others. I'm here supporting you along the way with usable tips and tangible tools. I'll be chatting with everyday people with inspiring stories. So please check the episode notes and send me your story. I mean, you guys, I lived for talk shows growing up, so help me feel like I reached my dream of hosting one, please and thank you. If you do reach out and it feels aligned for both of us, I would love to have you on the pod. And also reach out and let me know what questions you have and what you need help with. So whether it ends up being something that it's a topic that I cover because it's helpful for you, or even ends up being like a live coaching situation, just however it plays out. So I will link my info in the episode description so we can connect on socials. And if you feel led to support my work, please like and subscribe and send it to somebody who you think it can help. I appreciate you. Have a great day.